I'm Supermoon Tarot, and I'm so excited to say that today's video is about what your higher self wants you to hear right now. And the reason why I'm so excited about this is this was highly requested, and things like spirit guides and higher self are just totally my jam. I love it so much. So at the same time that this video is posting, I simultaneously posted another video where it goes into specifics of like, what is your higher self and what are the various methods in which you can continue the conversation. I even gave a personalized tarot spread that you can practice yourself. Consider this sort of like the gateway message thing going on here. And then from there, you can continue to stay up to date, especially as situations develop. Because the thing is, your spirit guides and your higher self are always communicating with you, but it's like a language that you have to learn and develop. So definitely be patient and kind to yourself. It takes time to integrate with it and understand it. You will, don't worry. But for now, we can jump into it. You don't have to wait. You can get the message right now. So it's like a perfect pairing between the two. As you can see, we have 4 groups in front of us. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you have, you can skip down to the description where you can go to your designated group and mark timestamp. But let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's find out what your higher self wants you to know by looking at the cards. We've got Education Oracle card upright, Surfos, green quartz. You know what I'm saying. Okay, I say it in my mind, so I don't say it out loud a lot. We've got King of Swords upright, 2 of Pentacles in reverse, 5 of Swords upright. Okay, I already know what's going on. I already know. We've got Ace of Wands upright and the Sun upright. Who does not love that? Oh, this is fantastic. Here, let me give it a little focus and a little brightening. Lovely. Okay, this is awesome. The reason why I was saying it's lovely is because the Sun is our awesome confirmation card that if you were concerned or worried, worries, it's funny, your worry came from more your actions than your mood, if that makes sense. And this is just the positive omen that's like, yep, everything's going to be fine. You're going to feel better soon enough. In fact, the Sun card, if I'm being honest with you, is not too far off from the vibes of the higher self we want to ultimately become, so to speak. So love that for you. So let's start up over here. Education Oracle card. I do want to note when I see the King of Swords popping up as well with the Education card, we can see the compliment coming through from your higher self that you're already pretty smart. But just because you're pretty smart does not mean that you know everything, and the things you don't know doesn't imply that you're without intelligence, if that makes sense. Because when the Education card pops up, it implies that there is still something that you don't know that would be helpful when making this decision, when knowing something, when understanding something fully, if that makes sense. Now, this form of education comes to us in unconventional ways. It wouldn't necessarily pop up in a book. And if it did pop up in a book, maybe the book comes to us in an unconventional manner. But this would be similar to when you go out and you're hanging out with people and then you overhear a conversation, and while they might be just speaking about something else, it just seems to speak to your very soul and feel like a metaphor for what you're experiencing. That's something really important to note. Sometimes when we receive the best, guidance or wisdom, often from our higher selves, but especially with spirit guides, it is done in a metaphorical way. Don't worry, you'll know it when you hear it. It's not something you need to strain after, but it's just knowing that you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle yet. Look out for it and understand that it will be received to you in an unconventional way by living life simply, which is cool, which is awesome. I'm excited for you. But the we get a little more specific clue here with the Suriphos green quartz. Now, this is going to at first sound like a negative tone to it, especially when we see what's going on over here, but don't have any worries. It's got a great kind of like hidden gem treasure underneath the maybe startling first information. So this is when you need to, oh my goodness, so sorry for the plane, the motorcycle, everyone's got somewhere to be. Sorry about that. Hopefully it's not coming through too loud. Anyways, so this crystal pops up when you have to just accept the moment for what it is. And we don't like that here. I'm a big fan of taking in knowledge, but then understanding how can we turn it to a more favorable outcome. But there's a treasure in this. The reason why you're accepting things as you are and you like letting it go, by surrendering to what feels uncomfortable, makes you finally see the situation as is and then gives you the gift of presence and now. And so it seems like you're already kind of in the circumstance. This is going to be a little bit confusing to explain, yet it's still true. It's this feeling of like, so you're like, okay, I haven't experienced yet the information I need to receive it, right? As we talked about in the education card. But you haven't experienced it because it's right in front of you and you're so in either the future or the past or whatever because you're uncomfortable with your circumstance, again, as we can see here, and I'll get more specific there. So because you're uncomfortable and you're racing in your mind of saying, how can I get out of here? How can I think about it? You're therefore not experiencing the uncomfortability, but within that uncomfortability, it's like something's saying right in front of you. Sometimes it's like realizing when someone doesn't treat you right and being present in that uncomfortability, you suddenly realize, wait a minute. Yes, it's not fun that I'm being not treated correctly, but I finally see who they really are and realize I have the power within to say no to this. I'm not affected by them anymore, if that makes sense. So by releasing and being present, but for a mere moment, uncomfortable moment, you will then gain the knowledge you need from that here and now. So it's almost like you are out of the situation that you need to be receiving education on, even though you're in it. You're out of it mentally, but you're bringing yourself back in order to receive what you need. Now we can get more specific than that. So over here I can see this is the uncomfortability. The Two of Pentacles, think of this as when we talked back about metaphors. Often we, how do I put this? Like we're showing ourselves how uncomfortable we are. We're giving ourselves an answer to a state by living that. This is often pops up when someone's going through a hard time emotionally and then you go into their bedroom and it's a mess. It's like they're reflecting out to themselves, I don't feel good enough to take care of. And that in turn is our signal that something's not right. It's similar to that mindset. However, in this sort of outcome, this is when we have mistakes. This is the comfort to know that you are not messing up because something's wrong with you. Everything's okay. You're being given a sign that something's not quite right. Something's not matching, and these little mess ups are to bring your attention to it. It's not a reflection on your skills and ability. It's a sort of like you're trying to get in tune with yourself and saying, wake up. A positive omen I think you might really like to hear about is people believe that when something is broken, like a glass or something like that, you are in turn releasing and breaking a cycle. And that we just love that. We love when we get rid of things that are no longer serving us. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm sorry. I'm starting to like my third eye and my crown chakra are going crazy right now. So I'm trying to like stay here. Sometimes it causes me to check out. I'm trying to stay here right now. Anyways, going back to what we were saying with the two of Pentacles in reverse. So this also is another option for this is when we are overwhelmed with too many things. And you have to ask yourself, why am I overwhelming myself? Do I think that by having a lot, I have more? Or am I not realizing the small bit that I can have or work on one or two things is more than enough? Why am I not allowing to see myself and what I do and accomplish as enough? You see where the metaphor comes in, see where the indication comes in to say, lighten your load, you don't need it, it's not working for you. That gets repeated here in the Five of Swords. Sometimes this is about someone being aggressive to us and us having to defend ourselves. It can bring out our competitive side with others. But as you notice, because of this particular deck that I've chosen and the expression on this person's face, they're not really happy. The Five of Swords is usually a mean card, but in this case, they're not happy about what they're doing. They're just doing what they need to in order to feel best, defend themselves, it's not like they're trying to hurt everyone just 'cause, if that makes sense. So you're feeling like you need to be competitive, you feel like you need to win, you feel like you need to gather up all these swords, all these different options so other people can't handle it, and you're just overwhelming yourself. And in turn, by hearing that, that is very much the problem. And so you're trying to clue yourself in with the Two of Pentacles. It's funny because you have you here over in the King of Swords, incredibly intelligent. So this is the type of intelligence that has many levels to it. It's what they know, it's how they decide, and it's why they decide what they end up choosing in the long run. So it's just the highest of compliments to you. But unfortunately, if you notice, they are looking outside of the situation. They're not realizing that the situation they need to understand is already being shown within themselves. We talked about being out of the experience, but needing to be within the experience mentally, being present, being aware of this. They think they need to look out, but they in fact need to look in. We can see over here with the eye looking over that is that version of yourself, your higher self, trying to be like, hello, wake up. Do I have to, hit you over the side of the head to make you be aware? And in a way, they're doing that with the mess ups, with the slipping, with the dropping, with the little small errors going on. Now, one of the things I see is not only is this mental attitude and what you're currently accomplishing, it's just not working for you. And we talked about that over here. But we can continue to get more specific over here in the Ace of Wands. It seems like all the things that you're currently working on right now are just not serving you. The Ace of Wands represents projects, but even passions. Is there something else you should be doing that is not it's not happening right now? We're just going to pretend you have a bunch of different hobbies you're working on, and this new hobby isn't even something you're working on right now. And you should pretty much drop everything else. Being overwhelmed like that isn't working, but you kind of need a fresh start by also having a fresh start in what you're performing on the regular, what you're interested in. That seems like that's going to make you way happier. But also this seems like, especially with the Sun card being the outcome, it seems like it's an evaluation that everything you're working on, not only is the method not working for you and making you unhappy, but you're not even interested, deep down subconsciously in what you are doing. And we're talking about, when I say working on, I mean, this could be your career, this could be your day-to-day activities. Like, it's like someone with the well-intention of being like, I'm going to do yoga every day. But you have to ask yourself, do you even like yoga? Maybe you should go for a walk. Maybe you should do something else. Maybe the intentions are there are good, but maybe it's not the right fit for you. Because when we have the Sun card, it's not just happiness and optimism. This is someone who's entirely comfortable in their own skin. It seems like this passion is something that makes you feel like no one can press it or mess it up, not even self-sabotaging yourself, because you just love doing it so much, and it makes you feel more confident with who you really are. So that's some awesome food for thought. So you're close to the situation, much more close than you realize, and you're doing a good job. It's just a simple matter of presence and perspective. But keep in mind the method and what you're working on and trying something different. Your ultimate goal is to be happy, and right now it isn't working, and we can see why. But don't worry, it is going to get a whole lot better, as we spoke about here. So I'm so thrilled for you and your happy ending. If you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. Bye! And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's find out what your higher self wants you to hear right now by looking at the cards. You have Unexpected Visitor, Oracle card upright. I love black tourmaline. I love, 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 love black tourmaline. Everyone talks about rose quartz, and I love rose quartz. I love rose quartz so much, but black tourmaline is like, in addition, my rose quartz, if that makes sense. So let's look at the other cards, though, as I continue to ooze over black tourmaline. Oh, okay. Unexpected visitors and black tourmaline make a lot of sense now. Okay, let me put this a little more in focus and turn it up. Okay, so has life not been going the way you had anticipated? Do you keep feeling like you're forcing it to go a certain way and feel like it's bending another? Well, that's on purpose, and we're going to be talking about that. So, unexpected visitors oracle card upright shows up when we're like, okay, this is what I want my life to do and go, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then something pops up and you're suddenly taking a detour and you're like, this wasn't in the plan. And it talks about how that's probably uncomfortable and not what you necessarily wanted. However, it is actually a blessing, and that spirit, or in this case, your higher self, knows what you ultimately need and is truly getting you there, even though it might feel like an initial detour or feel like what you didn't want, but it's in fact taking you where you need to go, if that makes sense. And that includes uncomfortable situations. I want to point that out, especially when we have black tourmaline. Oh my goodness, do I love black tourmaline. So we're going to talk about it a couple times in this reading. The first way I want to point out is it's a really great positive omen about how this situation is going to get a lot better for you. This is when, because the reason why black tourmaline is so special is it takes negative energies and it spreads it, like it sucks it in, and then it turns it into something positive. So what feels rough and difficult now is creating a brighter and more positive future, and by experiencing what is uncomfortable and unpleasant is actually totally a part of the plan, and kind of you could see it as like the fertilizer for a better tomorrow, so to speak. So it's a good thing that this stuff is happening, essentially. But let's get into more specifics, because it's not necessarily the most comforting to hear, hey, those things that are not fun, that's fine. It's all part of the plan. It's like, yeah, but I still feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So let's get into specifics and how we can change that to work in your fashion. So the strength card is our thesis, so to speak. It can represent the sacral chakra, but it can also, whether you're kind of feeling like you're blocking it on purpose for your own personal reasons, or it feels like it's out of control. Or it can represent just like a general sense of like confidence. Like think of the inner way you work, your the thing that gets you going and excited, and it can be a combination of your body and your spirit and your mind. It's kind of like your zest for life, so to speak. And in this case, when it's in reverse, it can represent either either way you're being kind of like it's controlling you, so to speak, rather than you being in tune with it. And this could either be controlling you to suppress you and make you feel like you need to cage yourself up and you're not good enough, and that's where that lack of confidence can come through, or it just feels like your temperament is kind of out of control and you feel like you more react rather than take a moment to sit and acknowledge and choose how you want to respond. So that's just something to consider. Now, the reason why it just kind of seems to be getting worse, so to speak, is when we have the Knight of Swords over here. Like I said, lots of good intention. You are trying to actively do something about it, which is run away. You're trying to get out of it. You're like, no, this isn't a part of the plan. I want to be out of here. This isn't who I am. And it's true. To a certain degree, it isn't who you are. But wow, your higher self's like really coming in hard right now. I'm like channeling it so hard right now. They said that what feels like your higher self, or what feels like isn't you, is still you. You can't push it away. You can't think negatively of it and suppress it. It is something to tame and make yours, and realize it is your friend. And we don't ditch our friends. We're there for our friends. Sometimes we don't have our best days, but that doesn't mean it's someone to get rid of forever. And that's kind of what's happening right now. You don't mean to. Your higher self knows that. It knows that you're not seeing it as something that you're like unacknowledging and trying to push away forever. You're just more focused on the idea of like, you're a blockage in my way. I'm on my path. I can't do this detour right now. But you're being asked to, essentially. Now, this is something that you can overcome. I see the both positive omens in the Ten of Swords and the Tower in reverse. I could not be happier for you to receive both of these cards. In the Ten of Swords, it seems like this mentality you take when you feel out of control in the Strength card is finally going to be coming to an end. It is your perspective that's the problem, not the experience you're having with the lack of confidence or feeling like it's out of control, whether that be suppressing or more raging. It's that when you see it happening, instead of running away or denying it, it's about tuning into yourself and saying, I've got to get something, tweaked or aligned, or I'm telling myself something, and when I feel in alignment, everything's going to work out a-okay. In fact, I don't even need to worry about the path or the journey, because if I'm okay, that's the journey, and then in turn everything else will kind of come my way, so to speak. Strength card also talks strongly about like a likability factor, like if you like yourself, other people like you, you know what I mean? Also, the Tower card mentions and talks about the idea of this being a long-standing issue for you that is going to basically be finally ending as well, which we love that for you. I'm so excited for you. One last thing I want to say before I get into the Page of Wands is, and get into here, and this is kind of like our branching point from here, is some stuff going on with the Black Tourmaline and the Strength card. I want you to acknowledge that the Strength card represents the idea of mind, body, and soul, and how each one is extremely important, and that when each one is within balance, they positively and help balance out the other. So consider that if you feel like your body's not going the way you want to, your mind isn't going the way you want to, you can foster that part of yourself by helping other parts too. It doesn't mean you want to fully neglect that version or that part of yourself. It's just about saying, maybe if I go for a walk, I close my mind and be silent and present for 5 minutes, and maybe I go read a book that enriches my mind and gets me excited about life. They'll all kind of balance the other one out. So that's a great way of like practical, taking action in order to get it more under control, so to speak. But the Black Tourmaline talks about the idea of boundaries and ideas that it's healthy to put up boundaries, but these boundaries should not be walls. So it's about this like flexibility with yourself and knowing when you need to be an extrovert, when you need to be an introvert, when you need to push people away and say, hey, I need my space right now, and when you need to be in tune with them. The Black Tourmaline also talks about, this is going to sound a little bit corny, but keep in mind, it's about being a human being and not a human doing. Here's the doing, but here is the being. You need to get in tune with that. And the last bit that Black Tourmaline talks about is the idea that you do not need to earn love from other people or from even yourself, this is important, your own self-love, by perpetually self-sacrificing. It feels like, whether you're aware of it or not, you are sacrificing yourself in order to move ahead. Keep that in mind. And you don't have to do that anymore. So I love this. It's all going to turn out a-okay. Because the last bit I want you to focus on as you're leaving this and you're feeling more in tune, you're no longer allowing this mindset to prevent you from getting in tune with this and then, solving the ultimate issue. After that, it's like, well, what do I do now? The Page of Wands asks you to stop viewing life as a journey and somewhere to go, and this is the plan, and this is what I want to be next, and so on and so forth. But more understanding what gets you excited in life. Like, what's what makes you happy? What's your passion? And we're not talking about a hobby that becomes a career. That's fine. That can be a career. That can be a thing. That's more than okay. It's about seeing it as more of like the act itself, because the page is the student. And once you figure out what is getting you excited, that what makes you pumped in life and is your personal passion project, it's about then enjoying the joy of being a student. So again, the page is going somewhere. They're going to be a knight, and then that eventually, so to speak, in just tarot meaning, leads to the queen and the king and all this other positive jazz. But for right now, they're not worried about that because they are just having so much fun at being present in the moment, understanding every little single aspect of the thing, and then without even having to try, they're naturally moving forward in the journey. So it's about ignore the journey, understand that you are the journey, and by diving deep more in that sense of presence through hobby, through mind, body, and spirit, it will all work out the way you were hoping to it anyways. But you're basically, your perspective and your mindset of how you think it's meant to go is just in the wrong place. And basically your higher self is like, guess what? Try this. So again, what feels rough now is going to turn into something really positive. This is making you be in tune with this, because this you thought was helping you was actually hurting you. And so it's all working out in the end. So I love that for you. If you enjoyed this reading as much as I did, please consider giving this video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3, let's find out what your higher self wants you to hear right now by looking at the cards. Your oracle card is coming to life in reverse. Your other oracle card is Apache Tears upright. Wow, it's powerful. That is a powerful combo. We've got King of Cups upright, Four of Cups upright, Ace of Cups in reverse, Knight of Cups in reverse, and the Hierophant in reverse. Do you guys say Hierophant or Hierophant? I just like saying Hierophant because it's so French. Hierophant. You know what I mean? Let me look at this. Oh, okay, let's get into it. There's some accidental bumps in the road, and we can easily smooth those out and get specific in order to make it more comfortable for you. So first off, we've got coming to life in reverse. This is one of the most important things to pay attention to when we're overcoming a difficult situation. This is a positive affirmation that pain that you've been going through, it's in the past, it's gone. But that doesn't mean we're completely emotionally over it. I mean, that's very clear in the Apache Tears, the Four of Cups, Ace of Cups in reverse, a bunch of others. But let's go back to the coming to life in reverse oracle card. So this says you're starting something new, but you're going to need to get out of the way. This could be a new relationship. To me, it feels more like a new mindset, like a new attitude you're trying on, a new job. But whatever it is, it's the acknowledgement that in order for it to succeed, you need to allow it to do its thing for a while. One metaphor that you can use is when you are like you're a farmer and you're starting to plant crops. And from that point, you know, you can't just lift up the plants whenever you see them and keep checking, are the roots growing? Are the roots growing? You need to let the roots grow. But it feels very impatient while you're saying, well, I don't fully see the leaves yet. Is it sprouting? I don't know. And you're going to need to just kind of have a little bit more faith, but also realize that you being involved isn't the necessary combination right now or formula for success, which is kind of amazing because that implies you're headed in the right direction. Keep going and doing what you're doing, and the universe has got your back. Your higher self knows this and is saying just let it do its thing. But that sense of wanting to control, wanting to have proof, observation, I can just read that personality and that, or not personality, mood, the emotional mindset you're in from a mile away. That's someone that's hurt. That's someone that is afraid to move forward. And I want you to consider this. I always like to use this personal metaphor, and don't worry, we're about to go into the other cards, but when we are recovering from some sort of pain, we start to naturally build, people describe it as a thicker skin. We're just going to call it some sort of like shield or armor. And as time goes along, where you get enough space from that, memory, that experience, that armor gets thicker. But if we press our luck or press that experience and put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation we're not quite ready for yet, and that armor's not thick enough, it will crumble and you have to rebuild it again. So it's understandable. It's shaky. The armor doesn't feel thick right now. It's going to get better, but trust that you're not going to put yourself in a position to make that armor hurt. You're going to sense it. You're going to be able to pull out of it right away. But for the meantime, at the minimum, have some faith. Everything's going to be okay. So now that continues on with the Apache Tears. Apache Tears is all about the idea of letting go of the past, letting go of grief, letting go of experiences that were uncomfortable and hard to go through. It's beautiful because this idea of letting go is acknowledging that there are better things, that it was kind of great that things didn't work out with that other situation because it wasn't going to work out. So isn't that great that it finally ended? Yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, it was painful. It's about processing those feelings and then allowing them to finally be free from you to be free from them rather. And then acknowledging, well, isn't this great? I basically have told the universe what I want to experience, what I don't want to experience, and you're allowing yourself to be open to the new, better situation, whether this be a person, a job, whatever. But it is the acknowledgement that in order to receive this, you need to then properly let go of the past. Sorry, I'm just realizing this is not in focus here. Hopefully that makes it more comfortable for you. So let's get into more specifics over here. Consider this the place that you're going and a version of your higher self or your higher self. The reason why I say a version is sometimes we can fake it till we make it. You can embody the ideas and beliefs of your higher self before you fully feel like you are truly that version. You can hop into the character and persona before you fully become it. So the King of Cups is where you want to head and go to. This is somebody, and this is something interesting to consider when you're trying to evaluate your emotions and everything going on. They almost have like a bird's eye view on the perspective. They are able to understand intricate, complex emotional situations because it usually isn't one side or one feeling. And they are able to play devil's advocate and understand every single thing in order to fix it and make it better for either the other person or even what they're personally experiencing themselves. This shows us that whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're facing, how can you pull away from it and take more of an observational perspective? Don't just look at what happened. Look at how did it make you feel? What could it have been? What was it from their perspective? What was it from just an outsider's audience perspective? Start to see what can make you feel better, because sometimes the solution you need isn't just purely being told, hey, that wasn't fun to experience, or yeah, I wish it went a different way. Sometimes it feels better to be like, oh, well, if they weren't in the right place to be the person that I needed them to be, or that job really wasn't ultimately in the end, for me, then, oh, okay, I feel like, yes, it was uncomfortable. I went through that, but now I get it. That seemed to be the answer I didn't know I needed, if that makes sense. But here you are over here. In the Four of Cups, it shows this feeling of, it's interesting. Normally the Four of Cups is just simply described as a bad mood. I would not say it holds the sorrow and grief of the Five of Cups, but I'm feeling a sense of apathy mixed with sorrow, to be honest with you. It's a little more sorrow than just purely plain apathy and not being exactly happy. But it is a clue to where that uncomfortable feelings we talked about in the Apache Tears comes from. When you feel that nothing feels quite right, it's easy to go towards what you were last familiar with. the feelings we talked about in the Apache tears, so we can understand where that uncomfortability comes, or where that focus shifts. That makes sense over here in the Ace of Cups in reverse. You're trying to start something new. You're trying to overcome this. We talked about the newness, but it's this feeling of not being able to, and maybe not even being ready to open up. That lack of trust is sort of your blockage, but it's also sort of your crux, your armor. Now, here's the thing though. It's easy to see it that way, but consider what feels like closing off and the protection is the same thing that's our problem. Maybe the protection in the coming to life is checking and seeing, did the roots grow from my seed? But it's also the same thing hurting the seed from becoming the plant or flower or thing you need that's going to bear fruit in the long term. But here's where it gets really positive and beautiful, and somewhere you can shift your attention in a way that's more helpful. So the Knight of Cups shows us that you do need to actively show your sense of sincerity and love and affection regularly. It's not that you need to receive it, you need to practice it. And by practicing it yourself with others, it will make you feel more connected to who you truly are. You don't need to receive it from others. It's by practicing it, you will understand what you want. It will help and heal in ways that are not going to be properly expressed through explanation and words, but it's like the thing you didn't know you needed, which is why we love our higher selves. Go higher self. And the Hierophant says that you are going to do this in an unconventional manner. So in the traditional sense of the Hierophant, this would be in a relationship. But in the reverse, this is letting a stranger know you liked their outfit. It's about maybe you really enjoyed this book you recently read and then just going out of your way to give it to one of those. Have you ever seen those little libraries that are like a little kind of bird's house sort of size, and they're in front of random people's houses, and it's like a free library, it's like a free mini library, and going out of your way to be active and make sure that other people receive the special gift you got from enjoying that book, and being proactive about showing that sort of sincerity and love to the world and to other people, not in order to receive it back, but just the act of you giving it and teaching yourself you have tons of it left, it's in you, and that's the predominant emotion you want to exude and experience personally. But you don't need to wait for others. That's not your solution, that's not your answer. So remember that outside observational devil's advocate perspective you're going to try in order to help heal this. Understand what feels like it's protecting you, healing you is actually you getting in the way of what's already a beautiful, bountiful thing in the future building up. Don't worry, that stuff that's in the past, it's truly in the past. It's time to let go. It's time to let it happen, even if it feels uncomfortable. And this is how you can find comfort and find your natural flow in this new path in a way that's more proactive and safer. Don't have to, yes, I'm not saying don't depend on other people. It's that the beauty of not having to, and feeling trust and knowing that when you give something, you don't have to worry about the reaction back. You can just enjoy the act of giving. So I love that. That's so beautiful. That is not what I anticipated to come through, but that's the beauty of the higher self. If you enjoyed this reading as much as I did, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a beautiful day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what your higher self wants you to hear right now by looking at the cards. Your oracle card is Rescue in reverse. Your other oracle card is Blue Sheladoni. I am not great at saying these names. We've got the World, Page of Cups, both upright, Knight of Wands upright, Two of Swords in reverse, and your final card is Nine of Pentacles. Oh my, I love her. I love her energy. Totally depicts what the Nine of Pentacles is all about. Let me look at this. oh, I had not anticipated this. I mean, this is fantastic. Very interesting. I haven't really given this sort of message before. Okay, let's get into it. So, okay, keep in mind where we're going is it's going to be great in the end, but it might initially be a little bit difficult to hear. But just hear the whole thing out. It's really good where it's going, and there's a lot of compliments even in what needs to be balanced, so to speak. So first, let's talk about rescue in reverse. This is like the main kind of thesis, so to speak. This talks about the idea of you needing to be aware of, are you waiting to be rescued? We're putting quotes around this. Or are you going out of your way to try to rescue someone that maybe you shouldn't be rescuing them because they're not, by you trying to rescue them, it's a way of like avoiding your own problems, so to speak. But that's not the main point of the rescue oracle card in reverse. Whether you're waiting to be rescued or you're rescuing someone else, it's this idea of you're caught up in the illusion and fantasy of what you would like to happen. And this is asking you to come back to reality and see the situation as is. I see that very fun fantasy sort of mindset repeated throughout these many cards, which is a huge compliment to you and your creativity, and not necessarily something you should squash or take it as a criticism. Not at all. It's just that, well, when we are very creative like this, things can get out of hand and kind of leak over into the real world, and that's totally understandable and not always something that we need to put into check. But in this case, you're being asked to, especially when the blue Sheladoni I know someone's typing right now in the comments like, no, that is not how you pronounce it. This is how you do it. And please do. I don't know how to say it. So this crystal is popping up to ask about balance and restoration and slowing down in order to gain this. It's this feeling of like, I want to rescue them. I want to be rescued. And you're already excited a mile a minute at the idea of it. And this is saying, okay, well, we need to find that in between of what you want and you would hope for and what's happening and how can we kind of merge the two and make it happen. But we can't do that and find that unless we see and have an equal amount of both, again, that idea of balance, and we kind of slow down and get out of our fantasies and say like, well, what's happening really? Why am I thinking that? What's more exciting in my fantasy rather than being a part of the reality? That's the really underlying question. So in the World card, I love your energy here. This is so beautiful. You've got goals. You have a mindset of where you want to be. Your eye is on the prize. And the prize is an important thing that pops up in the World card I don't hear discussed enough. When the World card pops up, and we have that double confirmation over here in the Nine of Pentacles, the idea of a prize is important to you. And not something that's being criticized here. I just want to point that out. But it's something important to understand ourselves. Because the World card represents the idea of an end with something being proven that it's the end. So a trophy, an award. In many cases, this obviously takes in a more modern way, like you take yourself out to dinner, you receive some sort of little present, but it's or maybe you get to be with the person that you really want or the job you want. Whatever it is, it's a clear indicator of you've gotten the thing. It's not just metaphorical, which is wonderful, and it's great that you're so focused on that. But here's the thing between the Page of Cups and the World. If you noticed, this is you. You're looking at the world. You've got all these great ideas. You're even thinking, to be honest with you, beyond the world. It's like you have this main goal, but in your heart, you know it's expanding even further. This is such a gorgeous trait about you. And something your higher self wants to talk about, how this expansive sort of like persona you have, that you always see that there is more in your proverbial, metaphorical bowl, so to speak, is what enables you to always experience more, and something you should focus on when manifesting. Wow, okay, I just channeled your higher self very hard there. But in the Page of Cups over here, this is somebody who's in the world. They're in it. They're participating. So this is looking at it, this is in it. And that's a huge difference of where the balance needs to come into play. So the Page of Cups is somebody who is able to receive messages and understand intuitively what to do next through kind of a complex sort of way. Feelings are not words, if you know what I mean. So these sort of messages come to us in kind of our intuition. We don't know why, but we just know, so to speak. And this is about tuning more into that. But in order to be intuitive, you have to be present and check in with how you feel. So again, it talks about that idea of restoration and balance through checking in. Oops, sorry, I hit that. So that's a very, let me put the camera back in focus. That's a very fun way of being present. Again, it's no criticism towards the fantasy or anything. It's just another way of approaching the situation. So this person, by being present, still obtains what they want in the world. It's just understanding this is how they get there instead of only being focused by the fantasy of having the end goal. And in the Knight of Wands is kind of interesting. This can take on a couple different energies. This can either take, and this can go either way because I'm being drawn both ways, so I'm going to share them. Actually, should I share? You know what? I'll share Nine of Pentacles and then I'll come back to these two. The Nine of Pentacles is somebody who has their thing. So they're completely present in the reality, but they were patient enough to get there. So this is kind of the loving tone of your higher self saying like, that's great, you have these goals, but remember to focus on, it's going to take a second, it's going to take a moment, you're going to get there, but there is this excitement after all that patience pays off. Not only is this the confirmation in both of these, this thing you want, these ideas, you're going to receive them, but you're just going to love them. You're going to be there. They're going to be everything that you want. You're going to live it up, have a great time, whether this be money, another person, a career, whatever that be. And you're going to be ultimately really happy. But again, this is somebody, compared to this mindset, who's super present. They are aware of everything they have. They're sitting, they're looking at it, they're in it. You know what I mean? They got there because they were so present in the moment in order to accomplish the tasks they needed to accomplish to then have it add up and then equal the Nine of Pentacles, which is all their wealth or riches. And in this case, it's whatever your version of wealth and riches may be. But again, when I talk about the multiple situations going on here is the Nine of Wands can either encounter somebody who needs to take a stand more. And it's like the clue saying like you need to like go out and be proactive. And we talk about the idea of are you being rescued or not being rescued? Or saying like all your proactiveness is lovely and fiery, but you need to kind of like cool it down a second and be more present. Because the Two of Swords is somebody who makes his decision, okay? So this is about being more decisive. The fantasies are kind of like all over the place. It's exciting. It pulls you in the future. It makes you contemplate all the places you'd like to be. And the Two of Swords kind of represents a combination of being more decisive, of being like, no, I'm going to be here in this moment. I've made the decision. I'm going to be more present in order to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. But it's decisive when, in order to be decisive, you have to make a clear end point. And that's more the goal. It's like the idea behind decisiveness. Fantasies run on forever. And this is you having a clear end game, a clear pinpoint right now. What do you want to do? Not where do you want to go? What do you want to do right now? And then the Knight of Wands is about proactively making that happen. And again, I keep being pulled both ways, so I'm just saying it just depends. You know who you are. Either you're waiting for someone to rescue and this is saying, don't do that. Go be proactive, make that decision, make what you want happen. And if you feel like you are rescuing someone else, it's about saying, don't let that get away from you. Don't let that run away from you. Pull back. Be decisive. You can still be proactive. It's great you want to be proactive. That is a key to your success and all this good stuff happening your way. But understand how to be proactive, because it can feel like you want to run away on your horse, and this is saying slow down, get a map. You know what I mean? Does this make sense? So I love this. I just want to point out again the highest of compliments from both me and your higher self that you have fantastic energy, fantastic goals. You're going to reach them. Everything's going great. But here's an interesting, loving way of just reeling it back for your highest good. And that's all your highest self wants. They want you to get everything because they are you. So we love that, and so do I. So If you enjoyed this reading, please consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out like you would not believe. Have a beautiful day. I will see you in the next one.